Welcome back to Kazouza Hamra. I'm Nora, and this is the podcast where we reclaim Arab narratives and do deep dives into identity, resilience, and real life stories. My guest today is a powerhouse. She's a single mom, an immigrant, and an OB-GYN. She came to the U.S. in the 1980s and has been changing lives ever since. Join me in welcoming Dr. Naglaa Rizk. Welcome, Dr. Naglaa Rizk. Thank you so much for being here today and taking the time out of your day to talk with me. And I have so many interesting questions to ask, both from me and from my followers. So I want to start off by learning a little bit about your journey, what inspired you to become a doctor, and why women empowerment and women health is your calling.
Well, thank you for having me first. I'm very excited to be here and to have this chat. And actually, I don't know. It is my calling, but it's also only part of my calling. What inspired me partly is my mom and her journey.
Okay.
My mom was initially a gynecologist before we moved to the U.S. And then when we got here, just had to start all over and do something else. So she became a pediatrician. But one of the things that I grew up with was the concept that from the Quran of whoever saves one life, it's as if they've saved all of humanity.
Right, yeah, that's so beautiful.
So that's something I live by. But I never actually wanted to be a physician.
Interesting. Okay. Because you're so good at it. And I've heard wonderful things about you. So
Thank you. I've always wanted to reach people on an emotional level. And I kind of more artistic, as far as not drawing. I can't draw to save my life.
yeah.
But I'm more of a wordsmith, so I write and I'm more into poetry and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But I wasn't allowed to do that. So, and then I wanted to be an astronaut, not realizing that I'm very sensitive to motion. So that didn't work out. So yeah, I ended up in medicine as a backup plan.
Okay. So I want to hear more about your mom's journey before you got here. So she's a physician in Egypt, right?
Egypt and then Saudi.
MashaAllah, so you live in Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I got that. So whatever experience you have, I want to just hear about that experience because I always find these stories so fascinating.
So my parents got divorced when I was about 5. And then she remarried and we came here shortly after that. So she had a really tough journey to start with. And I guess she had lost her mom when she was a teenager. So she kind of had to raise her siblings, and it was very tough for her, and the 4 of them, mashallah, all became physicians.
Wow.
So it's kind of physicians in the family, but everyone before them was uneducated.
Interesting.
So my grandfather, mashallah, he kind of did everything to make sure everybody got through whatever they needed to get through, and did everything as almost a single dad for many years.
He's like, we're going to fix this generation and we're going to make you guys all the physicians. Okay. Well, in our culture, there's always the pressure of you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer. There is you can't pursue art. It's just so taboo in our culture. I don't know why. Art is beautiful and there's so much intelligence and beauty in art as well.
And I think it's kind of it's mirroring that in my family too, from my mom up.
Yeah.
My mom was the same way. She's an amazing seamstress, but they wouldn't let her do that. They told her she couldn't, not after all of this, you can't be like a khaddama. You can't.
It's interesting as I always talk about my story when I first came to the U.S. I always say when I was 7, my mom's like, no, you were 5 or 6 or something like that. And I wanted to learn how to sew. Because I was very much into fashion as a young girl. I used it as a form of expression because I didn't speak English. So I learned to express myself, around my peers through fashion. And I remember I was like, Bubba, can I have a sewing machine, please? I really want to make clothes and I wanted to do this, sew denim together. I don't know what the heck I wanted to do as my 5-7-year-old brain. But he's like, I didn't bring you to this country to become a seamstress. That was his response to me. And he regrets it now because he's like, I think you would have made an amazing designer because he sees how much into fashion I am. But subhanAllah, I wasn't allowed to pursue that. Even I'm a kid. I could have probably, I don't know where I would have taken it. I could have been I'd like to think I could have been next Vera Wang or something. But now I will never know because that opportunity wasn't provided to me because of our culture. It's just taboo.
There seems to have continuously tried to put us in a box. So way back, we're talking 60s, 50s, 60s. My mom ended up going to medical school at age 16.
Mashallah, that's amazing.
She started young, and it's high school, med school.
Right.
So she went to med school at 16. Rode buses, got to med school, graduated. There you go. So
Well, I always think with education, I do think by the time people are 16, if education is done properly, you could be freaking incredible by the age of 16. Because anytime I read about somebody historically, like for what comes to mind right now, like Jean Piaget in child development, he published, I think, his first article when he was 12. What the heck? What are 12-year-olds doing now? What are 16-year-olds doing now? Like we're not thinking, let me publish an article or let me go to med school.
The world has changed.
Completely has changed.
Our emphasis has changed and our input has changed.
Maybe that's why there was so much emphasis on you have to become a doctor, an engineer, or something like that. So this way we don't end up not wanting to go to med school at 16. I don't know. I don't know what their logic was back then, but I'm sure they have a reason. I don't think they're wrong for doing that. I think they were driven by something, fear. They knew something back then, right? That they felt like the only way you're going to make it is if you go into these careers. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think, whatever it was that pushed them, every society and every age, I think, has its own influences pushing the younger generations in a different direction. There weren't that many possible options.
No, absolutely.
Then. Anyway, she went to med school. She married my father. Then, that didn't work out. And then she married my dad, who's the one who raised me. And we came here. So she had to start over because you can't practice in America with a non-US.
Yes, I know. They make them go through these loopholes when the reality is they're so highly educated back home. Like they're like, I don't say they're better than doctors here, but they come with so much knowledge. Like they're not BSers. Like they're like the real deal doctors. So it's always interesting to see it. They make them go through the process again just to get the American certs.
Yes. So she became a pediatrician here, but she maintained her sewing as her hobby. So she'd get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and sew and cook and do whatever it is she wanted to do until she went to work. And that's how I grew up.
Well, your mom seems very just kind of modern, but in like at the old age, almost like in a long time ago, during times where women weren't as modern. And it's interesting, like she divorces your dad and then she leaves with the kids and gets remarried. Like how in the world that happened? I would not think. I would watch movies and I would think like the man took the kids away from the mother.
Not my mom.
If you want to leave, you're going to leave on your own and you're leaving the kids with me.
That's exactly it. And so she actually kidnapped me. So
wow.
It is out in public.
So
I was kidnapped.
Should we make calls? Should we call?
No, because rahimahullah, he's not with us anymore. So yeah, so she kidnapped me and we weren't allowed to go back to Egypt until I was beyond the age where he could take me back.
Saying that a mother kidnaps, like even the concept of just us saying that, putting it into words like a mother kidnaps her kid. Come on, really?
That's how strongly she felt about how she was going to protect me.
Absolutely. And Egyptian women, they're strong women, so I wouldn't mess with an Egyptian woman. But also in our culture, I've heard so many stories where the men take the kids away and they don't allow the kids to have a relationship with the mom. I've heard a lot of stories like this. It's absolutely insane. I'm like, I don't know how that happens. And the woman is put in a position where she can't even fight for her kids.
And that's Egyptian law. And that's why she kidnapped me. That's why she didn't want me to go through that. She didn't want to be separated from me to that extent. And so she took it upon herself to make sure that that wasn't going to happen.
Do you have any background as to like why they do that? Like, why is that a law? Like, I'm curious.
I'm going to guess it's a little patriarchal.
I'm just curious to see what their logic is to put that into law. And I'm sure it's still law to this day.
As far as I know, it's still law until the age of 13. And then I think the child gets to choose. But if the mother gets pregnant, if the mother gets remarried, then the child has to go to the father so that the child is not being raised by another man or some.
I would imagine, I guess if that was the case, maybe because there's a fear of maybe potentially the man maybe doing something to the.
But that's even if it's a boy.
I don't know. That's insane. I guess we would need somebody who like really studies this to have like a more insight.
So we ended up here and I'm glad we did. But her experience really shaped how she raised me and then eventually my brother. And her concept, and that's partly how I became a physician and why they wouldn't let me be a writer. Her goal in life was that no matter what happens to me in life, if I marry, don't marry, get a divorce, become a widow, whatever is going to happen,
You'd be protected.
I would be able to live an independent life and not rely on someone else's income.
SubhanAllah. She was a feminist before feminism. That's awesome. It reminds me of a story that my dad always shared with me about his childhood. My dad, he studied law in Syria. And he said to me, like, I really wanted to go to school to learn how to become a lawyer, but he ended up teaching himself. I don't know if like that's a thing, I guess, back in Syria, but he tells me the story that he ends up teaching himself and he puts himself through school and he like becomes friends with other guys who are also starting to be lawyers, and it became a group thing. But he went to his mom, my grandmother. My grandmother had 5 kids. My grandfather died, I think, when my dad was like 21 or 18. I'm not exactly sure, but he died young, and all the other kids were just younger. So my dad was kind of like raising them and being there for them. But it was him and his older sister. So he wanted to go to school, and my grandma's like, listen, the world we live in, you're a man, you're going to figure it out. I have to pay for for my daughter to go to school. And that story, I can cry thinking about it because I'm like, my grandma understood something. You know, she's like, you're going to be okay because we live in a man's world, essentially. You're going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. And I had to protect my older daughter, so I'm going to pay for her to go to private school and have her have a career. So it's always something that stuck with me. Sorry.
Again, a feminist before feminism.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm getting teary yet. But it's like a sad story. My dad's hurt by it, but I'm like, no, that was like a boss move from my grandma. I give her so much props for doing that. And in the end, look, he came to the U.S. I mean, he ended up he was a lawyer anyway. He ended up like passing the test and everything. And he worked for my grandfather, my mom's dad, and his law firm. And then eventually, look, he took his shot. He came here and the rest is history. He didn't even use his law degree, but he made it. I mean, alhamdulillah, like my brother and my sister were all successful. Like we all, became educated. We have a career. So he did make it without my grandma having to put in that money for him to go to school. So
we have to take care of the girls.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely so important. We have to raise the younger generation, especially like females, because we're more likely to experience so many things. And then without a man, there's a concept, I think in sociology, it's called the feminization of poverty or something, where if you get divorced, let's say, and you're a woman, there's a percentage of higher probability of you going into poverty.
Yes.
Just because the man's gone. Even if you have a career, it's just like already a struggle to begin with. So it's always interesting to learn that.
Yes.
So now you were born in Saudi Arabia or
Egypt?
In Egypt. And then you went to Saudi Arabia and then you came here. Okay. So what's your experience like being raised in a state? You're coming from obviously one culture, then I wouldn't want to say an extreme culture, but definitely more reserved culture, more conservative culture. And then you're coming here.
We showed up here and I didn't speak a lick of English. And we never spoke English at home. So I remember first day of first grade walking in, having no idea where I was going and being put into a second language class with kids who spoke Spanish in Lakewood. And that was it. That's how I learned English.
Okay.
On the job training.
That's awesome. I learned it by listening to Paula Abdul, Madonna, I think Metallica, Bon Jovi. That's how I used to learn English. I used to watch movies and sing songs. I had no idea what I was singing, but I was like, I think this is how you learn English.
Yeah, I learned it in school.
No, but I was also an ESL student. They would take me out of class and I would have like a one-on-one. They would do flashcards. Like, what is this? I'm like, door. Whatever it may be. But yeah, so definitely having that experience to learn English. And that's the beauty of it. I think growing up, like I know for a moment for me, I was kind of like embarrassed to speak Arabic. Like if my mom dropped me off at school playing Arabic music, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, no, don't do it. Now it's like, I'm proud of it. Like I want to blast the Arabic music everywhere so everybody knows I'm Arab and proud.
Well, I grew up in Ocean County, which is at that time, especially late 70s, early 80s, there weren't really people of color. Lakewood was divided into, we lived in Toms River, but, everything was like, Toms River was all white. And then there was South Toms River, which was all black.
Interesting. Okay.
And then in Lakewood, which is the next town over, Lakewood was divided into the Hasidic Jews and the Black community. And there was like a solid line, you know, actually literally the other side of the street. That's it.
SubhanAllah. Now, eventually you go through schooling, you start learning English. So then you graduate high school, you go to college, and right away you start majoring, or you weren't like a rebel, like, let me just do poetry on the side or major in English.
So my major was English. My honors work was all in English, but I double majored in bio so that I could, you know, do something else. And I was still, you know, a bio nerd going through high school. I did both, you know, I did the English and I did the bio. So going through school, I kind of excelled at both. But I had nothing else.
Right. But now going to school, like you're saying back in the 70s, 80s, where the community was so diverse, how did you fit into all of that while still like obviously wanted to pursue?
I was always the odd man out. I was always, you know, the one with the weird name, the weird color, because you were either black or white. And we didn't have any that. We didn't have that. I mean, it's a color you don't really have. We moved around a lot with my mom going into residency and then finishing and going back to Tom's River. And it was a lot of moving around. And there was a point in time when we lived in Edison, and there was a Puerto Rican community, which couldn't accept me because I didn't speak Spanish. So again, I didn't fit, even when there was an olive skin kind of community.
So language barrier.
I spoke English by then, but I didn't speak Spanish. Right. So I was never fitting in. So for me, the only place I really fit was in books. I could read books, fit into whatever character, storyline, timeline. Yeah, that was my escape. And that's probably why I connected so much with literature.
Yeah. Because it's like your brain kind of has these experiences. Like you create these like mini movies, right?
And they never kick me out.
Yeah, exactly. It's constant, and it's whenever you want. Like pick up the book and you just, you know, delve deep into it. Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm very big on books. Actually, I'll show you. I have like a ton of books. My dream was always to have like this library of books all over and get one of those ladders. We have to like, it's like my
I'll move in.
Yeah. Well, let's come hang out. Let's have coffee, read a book. But I think reading books is so important. And I wish like now I had more time. When I was younger, obviously I had more time. So I read a lot. And I have a funny story, like a Matilda story kind of. My parents were very strict with me growing up. I wasn't allowed to do a single thing. So I used to go to the library with my red wagon, and I had a library card. It was a Clifton Library. I would check out books, put them in there, and wheel them back home.
That's awesome.
And I would okay, it's time to return them. Let's go. Oh, you become a doctor, right? I want to start getting into the reproductive health because I know you're limited with time today. So I want to try to get you, pick your brain for as many things as I can while I have you here. So let's start with the basics. What is healthy vaginal health? Like I know we talk about it often, but what exactly is it?
So, vaginal health, first of all, it's important for us to realize that vaginal health is as important as oral health and your eye health and your skin health and everything else. It's not a part of the body that should be just forgotten and shunned.
Right.
But it's also not a part of the body that has to be beautified.
Okay.
Which not that long ago was kind of coming back into social media as something that needs to be altered and fixed, and like labiaplasty was a big thing, and you have to make this smaller and this bigger and plump here. But
okay, I'm oblivious to this. I had no idea it went that deep.
It's that deep. It is definitely that deep.
Wow. I mean, I'm thinking like you're going for a checkup like every 6 months to make sure everything is okay. I didn't know you can do things.
You can definitely do things, but some things are healthy to do, like make sure the vaginal mucosa is healthy, that you have the proper, there's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria, there's good amount of yeast, bad amount of yeast, anything that smells wrong or itches or burns or has a funky.
Right. And you would know obviously because you're like, wait, something is off here.
If it feels off, it's off.
Well, would you say like women should be seeing like their gynecologist like every 6 months or every 3 months or every year? What's the standard?
So the standard is once a year if there's absolutely nothing going on. The important thing is to know when there's something going on. So we have traditionally been told that everything's fine, even when it's not. We've been told that it's okay to have period pain, which it's not. We're told that it's okay that your period is, more than 6 days. Fine. you're bleeding and you're clotting and you're bleeding through stuff, it's a little heavy. No, it's not. It's not normal.
Okay.
When you have period cramps, if it's something that you're actually noticing and it's making you stop in your tracks or bothering you, then it's probably already too much.
Interesting. Okay.
Because we weren't created as a society where half the society has something that makes them stop being productive for any portion of time.
Yeah, because usually when a woman's on her menstrual, it's like, forget about it. The moods, the cramps, you can't function.
How does that help society run? It doesn't. That means it's not a normal thing.
What does a normal period, like what should a period be like then if you shouldn't be having these cramps or shouldn't be having these things you're experiencing?
So 3 to 5 or 6 days where there's flow, but it's not overwhelming. You're not filling overnight pads. The concept of an overnight pad shouldn't even exist.
Oh, interesting. I'm learning so much. Okay.
It shouldn't, because the fact that they had to make extra pads that were specific for an extra large amount of bleeding, that in itself is normalizing heavy flow.
And we shouldn't
normalize it. You should never be anemic from the amount of bleeding that you're bleeding.
Right. So say a woman has a heavy flow and now she goes to her OB-GYN. What's the procedure? Like, what happens then?
Well, we should be looking at family history because a lot of this is genetic, partly autoimmune, partly related, and this is hot off the presses, partly related to trauma.
Okay.
The way your body is processing.
Right. Well, it's like they always say with that amazing book, the body keeps the score.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's partly that. But we have to look at something called adenomyosis, in addition to things like fibroids and polyps and other things that can grow in the muscle of the uterus or in the lining of the uterus. My biggest pet peeve is that radiologists, when they look at the ultrasound to write the report, when they look at pictures, a lot of the reports are simple, the size, the whatever, of the uterus and the ovaries, but they're not really looking at the texture of the uterus. That may be our job as gynecologists, but if we're so busy that we're not looking at pictures, we're only looking at reports.
No.
Either that's our fault because we're not trained to, or it's our fault because we don't have the time to, or it's the radiologist's fault because the radiologists have so many different types of tests to look at. They're not trained to look at just the uterus and all its different facets. You have neuroradiologists who only look at the brain. You have breast radiologists who only look at breast, but we don't really have GYN radiologists who only look at uteri.
But do they exist, or they don't have it at all?
They're very, there are GYN radiologists. They're very rare. You'll find them in places like endometriosis centers.
So now I, as a patient, come in and you say, okay, go get an ultrasound. Can I pick like a person who specializes in looking at the texture of the uterus and the fibroids?
You would have to find a gynecologist who looks at.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
And that's just a specific thing. Not all gynecologists do that. Some do, some don't.
So I get a question to ask if you're looking for a gynecologist is, do you look at the texture? What's the question we would be asking before we decide to start seeing a gynecologist?
You can ask if the physician reviews their own ultrasound pictures or only the report.
I wonder what the response would be, and they're probably like, that's an odd question to ask.
Could be an odd.
Normally, people don't ask that.
They're also, and this is just a kind of niche kind of question, or a topic, but for more than 50 years, gynecologists and obstetricians, some of us have been trying to split GYN from OB.
I have noticed that.
And it's because OB deals with just the pregnant woman and gynecology is the non-pregnant women. And they're so different. They both have uteruses, but that doesn't mean they're the same process happening.
I remember my gynecologist had to refer me to someone else when I was pregnant.
There's so much information.
Right.
Like dealing with menopause is so specific.
Right. And I want to get into the menopause thing. I guess my understanding of menopause is it hits when you're 50, but I keep hearing the new term, the perimenopause, but then I also know premenopause. So what is the difference between the three? What are they? Why is perimenopause getting so much popularity now? I feel like growing up, I never really heard that term.
We are learning a lot about things like endometriosis, adenomyosis, premenopause, and perimenopause because we're finally getting louder as women. That's it.
Okay.
We are starting to get more funding for female health and female health research.
Awesome.
In the past few years. It's taken a lot of work from our political action groups in GYN health to get that funding through Washington.
Even the vagina is political.
Yes. And when that word goes up on Instagram, depending on who it comes from, it can get banned. The whole video can get banned. For example, I just today, I had a patient come to me in her late 40s who has all these symptoms of perimenopause. Now, perimenopause is that 10 years that comes before the period stops.
Okay.
Okay, that can take 8 to 10 years, sometimes longer. Menopause just means you haven't had a period in 12 months.
Okay, so menopause, no period in 12 months. The other one is 8 to 10 years of you experiencing and having symptoms.
Right. Pre-menopause is any time before menopause. In the 20s, you're still pre because you still haven't hit menopause. Peri is that time frame around.
And how would I know I'm in that? I feel like I'm in it. I feel like I'm diagnosing myself right now. I'm in it, but how would you know if you're in it? Obviously you're going to see a gynecologist, but what symptoms are we looking for within my body to recognize I'm in this stage? I need to call my gynecologist and, maybe get on hormone replacement therapy or do something.
So there are actually 70 symptoms of perimenopause.
70. Interesting. 70. You guys got this? 70 symptoms.
It's not just hot flashes.
Okay.
So we always think about hot flashes and night sweats.
Right.
Okay. But bone pain, joint pain, moodiness. We go through so much and we don't think about it. Brain fog, lack of memory, lack of concentration, just irritability. Things that...
See, I feel like, let's say with like the brain fog, I feel like ever since I became a mom, my brain isn't as sharp as it used to be. And I find myself being more emotional. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like quick to retreat. I'm like, wait, what is it again? And I'm like, hey, what's happening? But I'm like, I was never like this. Why is this happening to me now after I became a mom? So is that tied to also perimenopause?
It can be tied to menopause. It can be tied to being a mom.
Okay. And how would I know if this, I guess, are you running tests? Like
we do a lot of talking and I do run tests. You check for estrogen levels, estradiol levels, progesterone levels, testosterone levels. So fatigue, vaginal dryness, pain with intercourse.
I really feel like what you're saying,
it's vital.
I feel like I have this, but bringing it, because I know we're going to go back to talking about perimenopause, but does it tie into PCOS? Because I was once told twice in my life that I have PCOS, but I never took it seriously. And I also have two of my cousins who also have PCOS, and we all share very similar symptoms.
Okay. So PCOS is supposed to be a whole completely different. It has not related to perimenopause.
It is. Okay.
No. It should be its own thing. In my practice, I stopped treating, or I stopped seeing pregnant women 20 years ago. So I strictly focus on gynecology. What I'm seeing in my practice is a huge overlap between adenomyosis, endometriosis, and polycystic ovaries. The essence of most polycystic ovaries is insulin resistance, which is where your insulin level and your sugar level, the ratio between them is off kilter.
Okay.
So your body's making a lot more insulin than it needs to. Pre-diabetic.
All right. So it's insulin resistance.
It's insulin resistance, but the actual level of insulin may be within normal. So when you just run an insulin test, it looks normal.
Okay.
But when you put it together and you calculate the ratio is off.
Definitely getting this test done now to see if I have this or I have perimenopause, but I think I have perimenopause.
There's nothing saying you can't have both. Especially if there's diabetes in the family.
It's wonderful to be a woman. All right. So also what's getting popularity is the whole NAD supplement. Is that tied to any of this?
No, NAD is cellular regeneration that makes you look and feel younger.
Is it legit?
Seems to be.
It does. So there's some backing to it.
Yeah, it does seem to be.
Okay.
It's here we're going a little off the allopathic medicine front. So which is fine, because the way I see what we've been given, the knowledge that we've been given, we have to kind of look at the origins of allopathic medicine. I'm going to go off on a little tangent. Allopathic medicine, which is MD medicine, and you got your osteopathic medicine, which is DO medicine, and you got chiropractic, and you have all this stuff. You have Ayurvedic, you have hijama, which is wet cupping, right? You have acupuncture, you have Reiki, you have naturopathic,
right?
You have homeopathic. Right? These are all different types of treatment. Who's to say that one is the only one that's right?
Right.
There isn't one that's right.
Kind of, you pick one that aligns with you, or you feel the one that's working, that's making you feel better.
Can't they all together work? Allopathic medicine used to be before J.D. Rockefeller. Allopathic medicine used to include naturopathic medicine.
Right, and that's kind of like with acupuncture, and at one point now they kind of like dismissed acupuncture. They got rid of acupuncturists, because I used to see an acupuncturist, and I felt like I felt amazing after leaving my appointment, but then my insurance wouldn't cover it anymore. I never understood why, or they limited, like they didn't pay them as much, so it made them not worth even doing the job. So I think that's what happened, if I remember correctly. This is years ago now, but so it's interesting that you're saying this. It's all tied back in together.
It all ties back to, like, Rockefeller is the one who decided that he was going to fund the medical schools that brought in pharma, as long as they only relied on pharma and took out the naturopaths, took out herbal medicine.
So is that in a way of like, let's make sure we keep society sick, but we're also treating them just enough, but they're never going to be at their optimal best health?
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's how MD, allopathic medicine, grew. We can't function based on what chemicals we put in.
Right. So we essentially need that. We need these therapy options.
Yes. Society can't be.
But right now they are available, but you have to kind of like seek them out on your own, like a regular appointment, right? To get the acupuncturist, the Reiki. I will say I had a friend who did that. I felt it was very strange to me. Like they like go over your body and they're just like holding certain position, but you kind of do feel the energy following in your body. But I guess I felt awkward, but that's like a me thing.
It's electromagnetic waves.
And that's how she's trying to heal me.
Yeah.
How does hormone replacement therapy play into this? And I know we're kind of jumping around, but I only have you for a limited time, so I want to get as many questions as possible. But we definitely, inshallah, have to sit back again, because I'm totally fascinated. But I have all these questions, both from me and people who have reached out to me on Instagram, as I posted this on Instagram, and I asked, like, hey, I'm interviewing a gynecologist, like, what questions do you want me to ask? So there's a lot of questions, and there's one that's really, really, really important that people want to know. But how does hormone replacement therapy play into all of this?
All right. So think of, as we age, our ovaries start to produce less and less estrogen.
Okay.
So we are losing it over time. We're losing estrogen, we lose progesterone, we lose testosterone. Those are the hormones that we run on. If your car ran out of gas, would you replace it?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you do the same thing for your body?
Okay, so now walk me through. I would take shots, or is it medication? Like, what would I be doing to kind of make sure my estrogen level is higher?
So the first thing is to accept the idea, the fact that estrogen is a hormone, not a medication.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. When we think of antibiotics, those are medications. When we think of estrogen, it's a hormone that your body already makes. Now, hormone got a bad reputation with the Women's Health Initiative, which was a study that was based on one particular compound of a synthetic hormone. And even though it was a huge study, the media focused on one portion of that study,
right,
ignored all the benefits that came out of the rest of it. It was one portion of the study. The study was not well built. And it was the results were the way the media portrayed it. The results were skewed.
Right. Okay.
When we look back at that study now, we realize the problems with the study. So going back, thinking of estrogen as the hormone that we are missing. When we put that same hormone back into the body, we realize, and we realized it then with that study, the benefits of estrogen on the heart, on the bones, on the brain. So we're actually protecting women against heart disease, brain, in the brain, it would be like stroke, dementia,
Your vascular.
SubhanAllah.
Osteoporosis, even insulin.
Is estrogen connected to sexual intimacy?
100%.
Okay, so if a woman isn't in the mood, I mean, of course, sleep deprivation, other things could play a role in that, but like, does that mean potentially she could have low estrogen levels?
So the mood portion comes more from testosterone.
Okay.
The estrogen comes, helps more with the lubrication and the vaginal dryness.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's a combination of both, which is why in the intake process or in the discussion process of the exam, the history taking part, we need to tease out where the issue is.
So then potentially can women be getting testosterone medication, the hormone?
Yeah, hormone.
Interesting. And that wouldn't make them more manly?
Not at all, because we give back 1/10 or 10% of the male dose. Now, if you look at the way lab work is done and the way the reports are printed out, estrogen and testosterone are resulted in different units. Picogram per deciliter versus nanogram per milliliter. If you transfer them into the same units so you can actually compare them, we make more testosterone than we do estrogen. So when we lose it, it's a big deal. It affects mood, it affects concentration, affects fatigue, it affects libido, it affects a lot of stuff.
And does that happen more like, let's say, at a certain point in a woman's life, or is it after children, or?
Perimenopause.
Perimenopause. We go back to my perimenopause.
Absolutely.
So right now with perimenopause, I guess we're going to go back to it. What are some major signs women should like look for to know, like, I really got to go make an appointment to get tested here for this?
So again, the vaginal dryness, hot flashes, night sweats, concentration issues, fatigue, mental fog.
Those are like the major, because I know you said 70.
Yeah. Bone loss, joint pain, skin issues, dryness, the menopause bloat, that,
and
insulin resistance.
Do you have to meet all 70, or is it like a certain, like I know for a DSM where we're like diagnosing something, you have to like 7 out of 10, then they meet the requirement. If they don't meet 7 out of 10, then they don't have the diagnosis.
We don't have that.
Okay. So as long as you have some.
Yes. So if you have some, and we'll test where you are, I test estradiol, we test testosterone, free testosterone levels, and we test progesterone. And we start to replace based on what's missing.
Can you give me an example, like a patient, you don't have to obviously share their name or anything, but like a woman coming in, certain symptoms, and she did X, Y, and Z, and now what her life is like?
Yeah, we have plenty of patients like that, because that's a big majority of what I treat. Women's coming in, for example, if the issues are more vaginal, and we start treating with, I have a patient whose major symptom was the vaginal dryness, very young, sprightly 60-year-old, but really having an issue with the intimacy. And so we started with vaginal estrogen first as a cream. That got built up, and so instead of having a paper-thin, flat, pale, dry vaginal mucosa, now, several months later, it looks like she's 20.
Wow.
Moist and wrinkly, and everything's going great. So now we can switch.
A beautiful flower.
Yeah. So now she's like, okay, but now, now it's a problem because he can't keep up,
Well, think of men too. I feel like, there's also, I'm sure, a stigma with men, because men is like all these issues that we have. It's always, again, it's the woman, like something's going on there, but I'm sure there's some men experiencing things too. And could they potentially, I mean, I know they wouldn't go through perimenopause, but what is their thing? Like, what are they going through if they're having any of these issues?
They go through andropause, which is their own issues with declining testosterone.
Okay. And do you see that men recognize this within themselves, or they probably have no idea?
Some do. Most will not seek help for it.
Because of the stigma.
the stigma.
And are we here talking about like Arab men right here? Or are we talking about just in general?
In general. So they also have their lack of desire, erectile dysfunction, mental fogginess sometimes.
Well, now let's say a man's going through this. He goes to the doctor. Well, one, who's he seeing? And what treatment? Are they going to give him testosterone too? Or give him estrogen?
No, they gave him testosterone.
They gave him testosterone.
The big caveat is that most insurances will cover testosterone for men, but not for women.
So now the ladies know, so hopefully we can advocate to have these hormone replacement therapies available to us.
So right now, like I offer the testosterone for women in a couple of different ways. I offer the bioavailable where it gets compounded for her at different concentrations with the estrogen without, different ways of applying it,
Well, with this hormone therapy and like the perimenopause, does gaining weight play a role in it? Like just because a lot of women struggle with weight. I know I've struggled with weight my whole life. I was super, super thin, and then I just kept gaining weight. And even now, I mean, listen, I love my body. Alhamdulillah, I carry 2 beautiful children. I don't hate my body, but I do struggle. Like I want to lose weight, but I'm like, why can't I get it together? And then my doctor will always recommend, well, take Zepbound. I'm like, I don't want to go that route because I'm too hard on myself. I know, like, I want to put in the work, but then I feel like at times I do put in the work and I'm not seeing results. So can that be tied to also perimenopause? And
yeah.
would that help if I started taking testosterone therapy, estrogen? As
your estrogen drops, it makes your insulin resistance goes higher. So there's a cellular, it's on the cellular level, where you become more insulin resistant. It all goes back to the gut because the insulin, the estrogen, they're all gut hormones.
Well, I want to transition with the gut. Okay. Breastfeeding. Obviously, is it recommended for women when they become moms to breastfeed?
Yes.
Because I always be obviously, it's like golden milk. It's like the best. I nursed both my kids, alhamdulillah, for 2 years. And when I first started, I struggled a lot. Like I was second guessing myself. Like I'm not producing. I'm not doing this. And then subhanAllah, I was just like, let me give myself 2 weeks. Just trying my very hardest, and subhanAllah, then it was like I couldn't get rid of the milk.
So breastfeeding is very, very important. The nutrients and the immunoglobulins and the mana that the kids get, that the babies get, that sets them up. Like you said, it's in their gut, but it's also for their own immune protection. And what we know it does for intelligence, for a lot of different things in the body. They get all that from mom, from the breast milk. The first 2 weeks, you don't make a lot, but the baby doesn't need a lot. Baby's stomach is tiny.
Yeah, like very tiny.
Tiny. And it's so nutrient dense. It's like having a piece of cheesecake. You don't need that much to feel full. Right. And that's exactly what it is for them. After that, you make more. A lot more of it is water. Like, liquid. It's not as thick. Right. I don't know if you've ever Right.
Well, doesn't it adjust the nutrients based on the needs of the child, and that plays a role in all that stuff?
And that's why it changes over time. So if you've ever pumped and seen breast milk, not in a plastic container or in a bottle, it looks different over time. It starts out very, very yellow and it ends up very white and thinner in concentration. Right. But it is healthy. Yes, it's in the Quran. It's very healthy. And there are a lot of women who are so gung-ho breastfeeding that they'll almost attack you if you say anything against it. There are women who are afraid of those other women.
Yeah.
Right? We can't make it so that we're against each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. You do it. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you and your circumstances. Like I never judge anyone, of course.
So it's very important for us to be supportive of those women who feel like they can't, because a lot of that fear comes from something else that someone said. Oh, you'll never be able to, or, you're too thin, or you're too fat, or you're too this or too that. And so it's some kind of internalized fear.
Well, it's also women doing that to other women. Your mom could say like, hey, what's happening with you? How come you're not producing milk? Why is that happening? Then you feel like you're not woman enough. Like, why is my body not producing this? But I remember when I gave birth to Valley, I ended up getting help at first because I was like, I'm struggling, but I definitely want to like continue with this. And then finally when it worked, they actually wanted me to go speak like in a group to women. I did it because I felt, I'm like, I never want to like make a woman feel like, I don't know. I just like felt weird about it. So I didn't do it.
But, you know, every pregnancy is different too. True. Like my first pregnancy, I had no problem. My second pregnancy, I was sick. So I had a problem. I had a problem, and it was like a matter of my own body was like, whoa, we can't do like 7 illnesses at the same time. So we're going to not do this. But for me, it was a matter of, no, we're going to do this, you know, and it was learning what I could eat that would make better milk or more milk, what I could drink, what I had to push myself to be able to do so that I could fight.
Yeah. Then they get the stimulation and to get.
Yeah. You know, whether it was stimulation or drinking more, we don't drink enough when we're not breastfeeding, you know, so it's a lot of it is that too. And sometimes when you have that chatter behind you of you're not making enough, well, is the baby growing? If the baby's growing, then you're making enough.
Yeah, it's just like reframing things in your mind, you know, like society puts us under so much pressure with these things. And ultimately, I just feel like you have to do what's right for you. It's like, it's your life. Only you know, like only you know. Nobody could tell you at the end of the day. I know for me, it was really, really important. And I also struggled with guilt, like being a career mom, you know, I'm putting them in daycare at a very young age, which I still like, I feel really guilty over. And then I would make up for it by having them sleep next to me at night. It was like, it's this whole like mind, I want to use the F word that you go through, but I'm going to be respectful and not to use it. Okay. So now when it comes to breastfeeding, can a woman get pregnant while she's breastfeeding?
Yes.
She can?
Yes.
Okay. If she does get pregnant and she finds out she's pregnant, should she stop breastfeeding at that point? But doesn't it create like, can it cause like pain in the abdomen area, which can result in you losing the baby?
You're going to hear a lot of things, not necessarily all true, because there are women who breastfeed, get pregnant, don't know that they're pregnant because they haven't gotten a period. Either way. Right. So there's a lot we don't know, and a lot of the things that we hear are based on some circumstantial stuff. But if you can breastfeed and you feel strong enough, then go ahead and breastfeed.
Well, what advice would you give somebody like during Ramadan if they're breastfeeding? Should they fast, or is that going to be up to the woman how she feels?
It's totally up to the woman. There are women who can drink enough during the nighttime hours, can drink enough to make enough milk and not be tired, especially if it's a wintertime fast, for example. And there are some women who can't, who just every time they nurse the baby, they have to keep drinking. Otherwise, they feel lightheaded and weak and tired. So it's totally up to the woman herself. And it's a rukhsa. You know, it's something Allah gave us that. So take advantage of it.
It's a myth that you can't get pregnant when you're breastfeeding. Premenopause only starts in your 50s.
Nope. Because again, if it's 10 years long, say you're going to get your menopause around 47. 10 years before that, you're 37. So,
by the way, can that be tied? Like, let's say if I would have to ask my mom, she's never shared this with me, but like when she went through it, then I would know like I'm going through it around that age.
It could be different for you. I had kids at an age way after my mother went through menopause.
Well, I guess maybe also with times now have changed.
Times have changed. Our food has changed. Our lifestyle has changed.
Well, the food, I mean, I have this whole big thing with the food, what's happening. I mean, we just don't have access to any natural food. And that's why my episode with Lena, which I'm totally going to her farm, I have to like buy some natural organic food because the food just sucks. Like, I'm like, I don't know, how could it be, how did we as a society let it get this bad? Where nothing is appealing.
We were duped.
Yeah, we definitely were lied to. Are tampons bad even if they're cotton?
Not necessarily.
But are they healthy? You know, like, because I feel like this could be just me again. I don't know. Is how I analyze it in my brain. I feel like wearing a pad is better because your body's naturally releasing, you know, what it needs to release. When you put a tampon there, it's holding it there, which makes the area more likely to get, I don't know, bad bacteria.
I can't speak on studies because I don't think enough studies have been done, but it's being released from the uterus. So it's already coming out. The tampon is sitting in the vagina, sucking up what comes out of the uterus.
Okay.
If you're changing that fast enough, you're not letting it sit there for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
then it should be okay.
No, hopefully women are doing that.
But now we also have multiple options. We have discs, we have cups, we have period panties. We have so many options. You don't have.
The period panties seem a little funny to me. I've never seen them in person, but the concept of like, here are my period panties.
I deal with all generations, so I will tell you that the younger generations will use nothing else.
All right, here's another one. If you don't bleed on your wedding night, you're not a virgin.
Love this question. So the first thing we need to know is why we bleed, why some women bleed, and why we're expected to bleed. So the concept of the hymen, that's what's supposed to bleed.
Oh.
Not supposed to bleed. That's what bleeds.
Right.
Okay. Hymens come in different shapes and sizes. Lots of myths related to hymens as well. So if the shape is one of the shapes that stretches, not tears, and there's an and.
Okay.
And the husband is slow about it, it will stretch and not tear.
Okay.
If that happens, she won't bleed.
So if he's like
Gentle.
okay, if he's not gentle, chances are she will bleed.
If he comes in like a bull.
Yeah. Which I'm sure men don't have that education, like how they should like approach that first time, experience. Well, we're talking here, ideally, like a couple gets married, they're both virgins and they're both having the experience.
So one of the things I talk to, and I love premarital counseling, is I will talk to her and we can do a premarital exam to see what to expect. And the other thing is to have a discussion, the two of you. Make a plan not to do anything on the night of the wedding because you're already focused on the party and the wedding and the guests and the cake and the getting to where we got to go. And there's so much excitement. You don't want to miss that because you're worried about the bleeding and the pain. Plan to do that part, that experience, the next day. That way you can focus on each other, focus on the process, focus on.
And it becomes more meaningful. Like it's like time dedicated just for that, as opposed to coming off the high of like the wedding and you're tired and you're exhausted.
And the other thing is position. So if you're taking your time, if you're taking her time and he's slow about it and there's enough lubrication and she's in a position where she can control so that when there's stretch and there's pain, we just freeze for a second, let that go away, and then proceed and freeze for a second, then it doesn't have to be painful. Or, I mean, it's going to be painful, but it doesn't have to be excruciating, and she doesn't have to, like, hemorrhage. And that way, if it is a hymen that is not going to stretch, then we can identify that early.
Yeah. Well, I also think that so many cultures put so much emphasis on the virginity thing. And I know it's part of the religion, but in some cases, I've seen videos online where people, like, walk with the sheet and like they show the family. I'm like, how embarrassing is that? Like, when did that cultural practice ever happen?
So I've worked in Jeddah, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Oman. There are still cultures that do that. And there are people who will take it to the death.
Like literally a woman can lose her life if she doesn't present.
Yes. And that's where we go back to, well, what kind of hymen was it? And we go back to education, right? Yeah, some women may have not been virgins for some other reason. We also have a rape that happens that doesn't get exposed.
No, because women are too embarrassed to say this happened to me, so I'm not going to be that girl to embarrass myself or my family.
We have rape, we have incest, we have abuse, we have all sorts of things
aren't talked about.
That aren't talked about. And then if she doesn't tear for one of those reasons, or because he was gentle, for example, then, or because she's used the tampon.
So that can stretch because you're using a tampon.
Yes. So if it's any one of those reasons, then why are we going to kill her for it?
Think of, like, for me, the concept of like a woman being killed for something like this is like absolutely insane. And going back to saying working in these different countries, do you see that the issues women experience in Jeddah, in Dubai, Sharjah, are they the same kind of, or different issues? What are the issues, let's say, Arab women experiencing over there versus women over here?
They're exactly the same. Exactly the same.
We have a lot of work to do.
We do.
Like, well, we're talking about obviously stretching the hymen and everything. This one is a tough question, but it is a real question. I had a friend in high school who lost her virginity. She was a Muslim woman, Muslim girl at the time. And she struggled with, obviously, how am I going to hide this? Like, obviously, she didn't tell her family. She wants to get married, but now she starts thinking about the virginity surgery. I don't know what the proper term is for it, but I only know about it through musalsalat, from the shows. The emphasis and the struggles and the shame and the guilt and the thinking that women have to go through. How do I fix this mistake that I made? Or perhaps I was raped and now I have to fix it. So I want to get this virginity surgery. Is that a real thing? Does it make a difference? Like, what is it?
It is a real thing. It is something that does happen. And in certain places, it happens for massive amounts of money. It is a moneymaker, yes. It's kind of like a bribe, because if you think about it, it's just like, well, how much money are you going to give me to keep your secret? There are places that will do that. There are places that will do it, in the office even, so that it's not under anesthesia, so that there are no bills that go out, and kind of keeping it all cash hush hush.
Back home or here?
That I've seen more in the Middle East. Here, very few Western-trained, non-Arab physicians will entertain the thought, because the concept isn't there for them, right? So I've had people request it because I'm an Arab physician. So I've had people request it here, yes, for various reasons. But I think part of it is, again, understanding what happened, why it happened. I don't need to know reasons why it happened, but she has to understand that doing that surgery, what that surgery is going to do. Essentially, it's a stitch, which is going to tear.
What are you stitching about?
The hymen. We're stitching the hymen back together. Okay, so depending on what happened, if it was years and years of something, abuse.
It was one time and it never happened again.
So I don't know how it healed. I don't know what's going to happen. The surgery may not do anything, because she may still be, the hymen will have broken, but that doesn't mean that she had a hymen that hasn't shrunk again. Right. But the idea is you're still lying to your future husband.
She's already starting on the wrong foot, because should you be lying? But then at the same time, do you owe it to him? Like,
no.
You have to say it to him?
No, you don't have to. It's not that you have to. If it's a mistake that happened, that's between you and Allah.
Yeah.
Fine. But there's where discussion comes into play. Okay. That, do we have to bleed? That part, that showing the sheet thing, that understanding of what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, what expectations are there.
Say you made this mistake once, you get married, you don't technically owe it to him, but you don't have to also get the surgery. It's as if you're going to be going through it for the first time anyway, because it's been so long and potentially it could have healed itself. And if he's going slow and not being aggressive, chances are you're not going to bleed anyway. So between you and Allah.
And if he's forceful, chances are you're going to bleed anyway. But do you want to go with chances, or do you want to have a conversation and start on a decent foot?
Now you're saying the conversation, like, say that this happened to me, and tell him.
But that goes back to the relationship. Okay. If it was a traumatic experience, you know what? She may have trauma approaching that moment in the first place.
You should say, if something traumatic happened, like if you were raped or sexually assaulted, then that's the time.
That would be something. Yeah.
And I have trauma as a result of it. So you're also going to be dealing with the other act, because it's not just one thing, it's other symptoms along with that.
Right. Okay. So that, and again, that's something that women really need to think about and heal from on their own. This is another issue actually that I see a lot. this issue of vaginismus, where they have a hard time with the whole concept of the vagina, the vulva, contact.
Well, in the Middle East, is there education on that? I mean, I feel like I never really got education on it. I'll be honest. I'm trying to think of my upbringing, because I was born in Syria and I went there so many times. I would just see like my aunts, like if their husbands were away and they're coming back, they had to go wax, like those sort of things and practices. Like you have to always make sure you're ready to go, because in case he's coming home. I picked up on those messages. I never was told about my body. Like, this is what you're going to experience.
Were you given negative commentary?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of it was always, it was like, you're afraid to be sexy. You're afraid to kind of like, even like in a bedroom, is it okay for a woman? Because in our culture, there are some men, if a woman moans, they'll beat her up. I'm not sure if it's that extreme, but they'll look at her like, don't say anything, because you're going to be perceived like as a slut.
So our cultures are not the same at all. There are cultures where I don't want to out those particular countries, but there are a couple of different countries where I see in my practice, I can tell from her symptoms where her background is from.
And what her perception is towards.
And what her perception is, exactly. Just knowing those two things, either one or the other, because of the way that culture brings up their daughters.
Yes. Regarding
sexuality, regarding the vulva.
Maybe, I don't know if you'd be open to this, or maybe you have something to give a workshop to Arab Muslim women. We definitely need to have more conversations like that and educate the woman on what you should be feeling too.
Actually, we have a whole organ dedicated to pleasure that they don't have.
We have a clitoris. The only purpose is sensory. Nothing else. They don't have that. We should have that workshop.
Right, maybe we should have that workshop. I just feel like women aren't taught, like going back to the negative messaging, you're just taught, it's not about you. It's not about your experience in the bedroom. It's like what the man is going to experience, what he's going to enjoy, and you have to be ready. You have to be clean. Make sure you do the cooking before he gets home, so he doesn't smell onions on you. Like, make sure you have perfume set up, and all that is great, by the way. We all should be playing a role. He should be smelling good and being showered and ready to go, as I should be. So I think we should definitely, that'll be an interesting workshop.
I actually hold talks right now. They're called Behind Closed Doors, where I just free flow answer questions, whatever the questions are.
And how do people reach out to you?
They're on my Instagram.
So there was something you wanted to explore.
Incontinence.
Incontinence.
Yes. So a lot of women, one of the things that I hear that women are embarrassed to talk about and won't even ask about until I ask it is about losing urine. Whether it's after a pregnancy, delivery.
Like when you sneeze or you cough?
Exactly. And they don't know who to talk to about it, so they don't talk to anyone.
No, I listen. I know.
They'll talk to friends, and friends will say, oh, yeah, that happens.
Well, I once read, or maybe I saw an advertisement to get steam or something to start rebuilding.
Yes, the yoni bath.
What is it called?
It's a yoni bath.
Yoni bath.
So that's a natural kind of holistic approach, but it all depends on what the cause is. So if the cause is from a structural damage and the structure, the fascia that holds up the bladder has been torn during a delivery, that collagen needs to be rebuilt. And the steam isn't going to do it.
How would you rebuild it? Like, what's the procedure?
Depending on how bad that tear is, you can do it with pelvic floor physical therapy. You can do it with, we used to say Kegels exercises, but you ideally need to do about 10,000 a day. Not like, I'll do 5 or 10 in the morning. That's not going to work. So pelvic floor physical therapy, we can do it. We can assist with estrogen if it's the perimenopausal range, not so much with building the collagen, but at least strengthening the vaginal skin, the vaginal mucosa.
And that only happens, by the way, only if you have a baby, or is it can happen other ways?
It can happen lots of other ways, because sometimes it's that tear. Sometimes it's the bladder is just sagging because it's weak, not torn. Sometimes it's from weight. Sometimes it can be from diabetes. The whole bladder muscle is too weak. Sometimes it's the fibroid that's sitting on top and pushing on the bladder. There can be so many different reasons, and we kind of have to piecemeal what's happening.
Unless you see a doctor, that will always happen. Like if you're a person who coughs or sneezes and suddenly, you know, a little urine is discharged, that means it's going to be a forever thing unless you fix it.
Just fix it. Yeah. And the other thing that we can do is PRP, which PRP is plasma-rich protein, platelet-rich plasma. We take your own blood, spin it, take out the red blood cells and the white blood cells and all that, and give you back the plasma, which is the liquid portion of the blood, and the platelets that are in it. The platelets help your body reform collagen to rebuild your own structures. Now, that works if it's a little bit of an issue. It's not going to work if the whole bladder is sagging outside, right? So again, it goes back to how bad the situation is. And I've had patients where magic, it's like magic.
So we've reached a segment now. I do a yellow let's pop moment. I put my tablet down because I asked all the questions. So what this is pretty much where, oh no, I just thought that actually, I still made my tablet. See? So I give you a Kazouza Hamra because we are Kazouza Hamra. I'll pop it for you because you're my guest. I'm going to do this for you.
Thank you. This is where my kids laugh at me because things like this are like, ah.
Here we go. Totally. Bismillah. Do we cheers? Cheers. All right. So I ask you some fun questions just to get to know your personality. Do you like coffee or tea? Tea? Okay. Shawarma or falafel?
Amia.
Yes, Tamia, by the way. Tamia in Egypt is like
different than falafel.
Definitely different than falafel, absolutely.
But shawarma is
good. Make it with like fava bean. Right?
Yeah, ours is green.
Biggest red flag in an Arab guy.
If he answers for me.
Ah, yes. If he answers for you. Like, I have my own thoughts. Take a step back. Arab dish you still can't master.
I can't make my own food.
What song reminds you of your youth in the Middle East?
كلنا كده عايزين صورة. You know that صورة?
No, I don't know.
It's Abd al-Halim, patriotic.
See, the Abd al-Halim Hafiz, I remember the song is like فاكر باللي ناسيني وناسي اللي فكر فيني.
But no, my favorite is فاتت جنبنا. But كلنا كده عايزين صورة is like, it's a very patriotic, like.
Okay, I'm going to listen to it. Send it to me after this. I want to hear it. If you could give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion. A favorite Arab saying you live by?
إن الدائرة تدور.
What's something people would be surprised to learn about OB-GYNs?
A lot of what we do is psychiatry.
What's one thing that you would wish Arab women stopped apologizing for?
Being.
Yes, existing, being, absolutely. If your life story was an Arabic book, what title would it be?
What title would the book be? Wake Up.
I love that, wake up. If you could only drink one Kazouza flavor for the rest of your life, which flavor would it be?
Orange.
All right, everyone, that comes to the end of the podcast. Again, thank you so much for being here. It was such an honor, and inshallah, I'm going to have you back again because I've learned so much from you. I mean, I've learned literally so much. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below. And also, can you just tell people where to follow you? And I know you have your own podcast, which you're going to be releasing soon. So if you could talk more about that.
So we are working on releasing a Behind Closed Doors podcast, and kind of almost following the Behind Closed Doors circuit that I do around. And I'm, otherwise our Instagram is, there's Rizk MD, which is a little silent. And there's Crescent Care Women's Health. So it's Crest Care.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now if somebody was interested in seeing like you being their doctor, how do they find you?
Crescent Care Women's Health in Clifton.
All right. Awesome.
And there I.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Just let me thank you. This was so exciting.